I'm reading from Path to Happiness, and today studying truth. This is the fourth keyword of the word no in the 7-word system, which relates to strength. Truth, as a philosophical concept, is beyond the scope of our intelligence. No thinker has been able to come up with a pronouncement that deals with this question convincingly, so we need not concern ourselves with it in that sense. However, we do know what it feels like to experience untruth. It feels wrong. We need to look at two aspects of untruth, the outer and the inner. People tell lies, deceive and manipulate as a strategy to achieve a result they feel they could not otherwise manage. This indicates a lack of power. There is no need for untruth if we have the power simply to state our requirements and have them met. Therefore, by allowing our words to register untruth, we are instructing ourselves to diminish our strength and cement impotence into personality. It gets even worse when the person we are lying to is ourselves. This self-betrayal is the most destructive force of all. If it is your life strategy to deceive and manipulate, then at least be honest about it to yourself. You see, the point is that if you were honest about lying, you would feel somewhat ashamed, and, one prays, have then to begin the arduous task of self-rescue. There is reluctance to do this. Spirit is glorious, powerful, straightforward, and indomitable. How can untruth ever be reconciled with that? Those who deceive are turning their back on spirit. To discover whether a person feels powerless, we can look at the evidence that is found in their words and feelings. They speak words that register blame, self-pity, and pessimism. The government is made up of dishonest fools. My disappointments are the result of the ineptitude of others. My lover is selfish and inconsiderate. It was better in the old days. There's nothing to be done about it. Life's a shit and then you die. These words are more than just evidence of powerlessness. They actually create the condition. And this condition is felt as depression, frustration, ennui, and petulance. It is thoroughly destructive. White lies are to be avoided. They turn grey and then black as the degeneration worsens. If somebody asks you if you like their new clothes, and in fact you don't like them, then say so. If they get upset about it, well, whose problem is that? Do you really want their emotional immaturity to sponsor your own inauthenticity? Why would you do that? Even on important matters where truth may cost us dear, we nevertheless need to stand firm and trust that all will turn out well in the end. Yes, it does take courage. There is perhaps one exception for all but the most zealous spiritual aspirant, in the event that we are being coerced, and the price for the truth-telling is simply beyond our capacity to bear, then perhaps we will speak falsely. In this case, it is enough that we admit inwardly, I am lying to avoid submission to a greater power. It is certainly a major challenge to adhere to the principle of truth-telling, especially since society is structured around the opposite principle. Two particularly offensive laws exist to speak eloquently of this. One is called caveat emptor, or buyer beware. In other words, expect to be cheated. The other is more heinous. In courts on oath we are required to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is absolute nonsense, an absurd, unattainable requirement. It's made worse by the permission given to prosecutors to bully the witness and interrupt their testimony. His intention is to win, not to discover facts. And how can he not bend the truth to favour his client's position? It is rather similar in ordinary conversations. The other person is always coming from a position and often has a vested interest to bend the facts. In such conversations, almost always emotionality wins over reason, and the loser is truth. We need to notice this. Whenever a conversation becomes highly charged, then truth is in peril. To speak an unpalatable truth, it is better to speak softly and from our own experience, beginning sentences with I, not you. And the words I feel that you count as you. Furthermore, if we have our own agenda, and if we are more concerned with that than truth, then truth would dissolve into the ethers. So why go to all this trouble if the odds are so powerfully stacked against us and everyone tells lies anyway? The answer is found both in spiritual teachings and in our body sensations. The truth shall set you free is a much quoted aphorism and is the short version of a biblical passage that suggests that we first have to get ourselves into a heightened state of consciousness, metaphorically labelled the kingdom of heaven. Then we will know the truth, and as a result become liberated. The implication is that untruth is a prison for the unawakened. In Sufism, the path of truth is considered the fast track to realization. But anyway, we need not make this a matter of goodness or morality. It feels so much better to live without deception. The body thrives on authenticity and suffers discomfort and eventual debilitation when the mouth dissembles. Surely we already know this. In this world, called the world of lies by Sufis, what happens when we adopt radical truth-telling as a life strategy is that we offend lots of people very deeply. This leads to rejection and loss. We lose those who cannot face the truth. We can become somewhat unemployable, rather intimidating, out of kilter with our social group, and generally thrown back upon our own resources to cope with the resultant isolation. Yet out of these ashes is born a phoenix. What follows is real, deep, and profoundly satisfying, a true reward for having the integrity and strength to be authentic in our every action and involvement. Telling the truth is a really big deal. It's a very powerful act of spiritual commitment. And there are some people in history who did this and would not bend away from that principle. And very often they were punished severely by the government of the day. So we must understand when we take up the path of truth that it's a powerful path. It's a path of power. The power of authenticity is remarkable. And if you want power, if you want spiritual acceleration on the path to realization, then speak only truth in every situation and behave with integrity. Keep your word. That's the teaching here. The wazifa pair that we can do to promote this would be Ya Haq, Ya Qadir. Haq means truth, divine truth, and represented by the earth itself. The truth of the matter is what is physical. Ya Haq. It's quite a powerful wazifa. And Ya Qadir. This is like a guttural feeling. Qadir, not that I can speak Arabic. Divine power. Ya Haq, Ya Qadir. 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 Ameen.